Hello and welcome, everybody. Episode 2, we made it. My first appearance, which I'm happy to be here. I'm not going to be here for the whole episode, but I'll certainly be here for the first 30 minutes or so. Be good to catch up. We've got Ball Peen, as usual, Mr. Jitters, and the new face you can see here is Line 64, who's from our division side. And Lion's just going to give us a little bit of a brief intro to who he is, what he does, and how things have gone on that side of things.
Right. This is my first appearance where I show my face. Put a face to the name. I haven't had I wouldn't say the balls, but I've kept procrastinating doing an intro on whether the admins or the introduce yourself. But here I am. You know what I look like. Yeah, with my prepubescent beard. I'm only 19, so you can imagine. But yeah, I joined XTRO not too long ago. I believe it has been 6 months, maybe more, maybe less, late last year, and I've had the pleasure and the fortune to see different phases of the clan and how big of a task it is to get people together, to schedule a raid, to sit down and play as a community, and especially now with the pandemic. I remember Death Reaver posted this one question a couple of months ago where he asked, how did XTRO help you get through the pandemic? And I believe it really held everyone and gave them a moment to reflect that, oh, we're in a pandemic. And I made a lot of virtual friends through XTRO in times where I stayed at home and had to let off steam when I can't go out to the pub, have a drink, or go out and see relatives and so on. So I'm very fortunate. I will say that this is my first clan to join, and I've found a very comfortable and safe space from the division side, where everyone is understanding, and you see different people from different facets of life, discussing different ideologies and different schools of thoughts, playing the same game and having fun at the end of the day, and communicating and synergizing and getting missions done, especially raids.
It's really difficult, I find, to try to find that balance where you get a group of people, because often in a lot of games you have very toxic or demanding elements of the community. And it exists everywhere. You know, I never used to see it exist on the Destiny side, but it certainly does. I was just always oblivious to it in the past, you know. So trying to keep that balance and find other people who are like-minded, who share the same outlook on games is difficult. And once you've got that group of people, it's good to be able to sort of connect and keep in touch with them. And whether you're playing the division or you're playing another game that happens to be popular at the time, it's great if you can keep that group together. Do you know what I mean? And a game like Division, I played Division 1 quite a bit, and I played a little bit of Division 2, but it became quite difficult to be able to devote the time to the Division and the time to Destiny and the time to Call of Duty, you know. So that was one of the games I let slide, but I do remember finding a good group, and those guys always being really committed in terms of helping you grind, helping you get the right type of gear. And that's something that I think we see certainly in the server quite often. You guys all sort of getting people the different exotics when you only get one chance or two chances or whatever it is, you know, and you're making sure everybody gets a fair crack at being able to do that. So that's good. That's good to go.
I just got a comment.
Doesn't
your daughter play Call of Duty for you though?
She does. Not so much now. She's more into Rocket League at the minute. That seems to be the flavour of the one. I've got two daughters. The eldest one's a Fortnite sweat. And she's the most aggressive player I've ever seen on Fortnite. It's unbelievable. She's not one. She's always looking for the fight. Do you know what I mean? And my other daughter, she used to play Call of Duty, and she was her reactions were so quick. It was unbelievable. It sort of shamed me into not playing it anymore because I couldn't You know, when we used to play split screen private matches against each other, I always was able to win. Do you know what I mean? But she's far too good for me at the minute. But she's playing Rocket League at the minute, and I can hear her raging quite often when she's playing that. I didn't think you could rage at a game like Rocket League. She's found a way. She's found a way.
It's pretty, it's pretty intense. I've seen some videos online. I'm thinking, geez, something like a similar, like small concept of just a car with a soccer ball, but damn, they're good.
Oh man, the noise! You know, if you've got kids, the noise that they can make when they're playing games is unbelievable. And when they start to rage, I didn't realize how young that starts. You know, whether she's saying, "Oh, what's wrong with the Wi-Fi? I'm lagging out." I'm sure I've had a few swear words from time to time as well, you know, and she doesn't think I can hear, but she's so loud I hear every single word, you know.
Yeah, I was just telling them I had to bribe my youngest. He was playing the Xbox like 10 feet away from me, jumping up and down, growling, screaming at the television, and it's like, this isn't going to work.
Line, whereabouts in the world are you from?
I'm from the Middle East, from Jordan.
We've got a few guys from that part of the world, I think, in the server. I lose track of where everybody's from, but I know we are fairly diverse. So no, that's good, man. And it looks like, are you rocking the waistcoat, or is it part of a work uniform or something like that? I'm just trying to see. There we go.
Yeah.
Dressed up for the brilliant.
Yeah.
But everybody else.
I just dress for comfort.
As if I'm not comfortable in this.
No.
Not. A disclaimer. But if I remember correctly, there is a player in the Destiny side from Israel. That caught my attention once.
Yeah. You've got Kyrox, who he lives. I'm not sure what part of Israel he lives in. I don't know if he lives in Tel Aviv or not. I can't remember. But he's quite a prominent member. He's been with us for quite some time, from memory. You know, I think him and Sky. I think when I was going back through Discord and I was having a look, because you can search to see what a particular member's first ever post was. You know, so I was going back through just to see who joined and when and what type of things they said when they joined up, and noticed that Sky and Kyrox actually joined within a week of each other. Sky came in first, and then Kyrox joined second. And for some reason, I always had it the other way around. I thought Kyrox was in a lot earlier than Sky, but he wasn't.
Kyrox came in a lot more vocal. It took Sky a minute to open up to people.
Yeah, I think it did. Yeah. But no, we've got it's quite a varied, and I think that's what I like, because it helps the time zones as well. So your time zone, you'll be a couple of hours ahead of GMT then in that case, Line. Yeah. Is that right? I'm trying to work it out 2. In terms of when I'm looking at the map. +2, right? That's right. So again, that makes it difficult when you're playing with the guys who are crossing the states, who are all minus GMT. Do you know what I mean? So
I've had one raid.
Things a little challenging.
One raid with people from NA. One raid, and I stayed up until 3 a.m. And afterwards, I said I'm never doing raids with NA anymore.
Smart man.
It is. Yeah. You've got to find a balance. You know, for me, I normally get online from sort of 11 p.m. Most nights, so that sort of suits the guys on Eastern time who are sort of getting in around about 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or something like that, and they're generally getting online. Jitters, you're 8 hours behind, aren't you? Are you on Pacific time?
Yeah, Pacific time. No,
so that's well out of sync for me, and because you'd have to be getting online mega early for it to suit my time, you know.
Yeah, I believe you're 5 hours ahead of me, and I believe Jitters is 3 hours behind me.
Yeah, so when you look at it, it's tough trying to find that. But I know, as the clocks changed in the States, have they just changed today, or is it?
Yeah,
we changed today. Yeah.
Right. So does that make it better for a couple of weeks for us guys in the UK, or in terms of teaming up, or worse? I can't think. So what time is it now for you?
It's 12 for me.
It's
20
past 12, right? So we're 9 hours then in that case.
Yeah.
It's 7 here in the evening, so.
Yeah, that's
that balance.
which is nice with our community too, because we have different time zones for everybody. So it makes it harder to team up with people like yourself, or either because I'm in bed by like 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is when I crawl into bed and watch Netflix till 9:30 or 10. I fall asleep. So when you stay up till 11, that's when you start gaming. I'm like, geez, I don't know how you do it.
Do you know, it's a habit, and it's something like if I get in from work, say 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock, and I feel really tired then, and I could easily go to sleep at that point. But as soon as it hits sort of 9, 10 o'clock, I start to wake up and I start to feel it's getting close to the time I'd normally log on. But lately, because of all the carry on in the world and stuff like that, I have been falling asleep a little bit earlier from time to time. So I've missed quite a few nights gaming. Yeah, my normal time is 11 p.m. till sort of 2 a.m. That's generally, it's a long time since I've stayed up till 2 a.m. lately, but that's generally my sort of time.
What time do you wake up
but
at?
it fits in. I get up at 7 now. I used to get up earlier, but I'm cutting the time. I get up at 7. I leave the house at 7:45. Do you know? As I give myself a 45-minute window to get up, wake up, get ready, and then go. I don't stop for coffee or anything like that. Who's this guy jumping in? Who invited him? Get out. But Lion, your sort of game time. What are you, a sort of late night gamer? Are you somebody who logs in sort of tea time, sort of dinner time? Or
are we allowed to curse on the podcast?
Yeah, of course you can, man.
Yeah.
I'm a greedy fucker when it comes to sleep. My average sleep per day is 10 hours. So
Damn.
Oh
yeah,
man, 5 for me. That's double my time.
Yeah, 4 at best.
yeah. So sometimes it would be for Division. I nowadays I jump on Division just to help with the raids and get the raids going and keep that interaction. I will be frank when it comes to that. So raids are 9:30. So around this time they start from as soon as the clock turns to 00 until past. Yeah, usually at past we start the raid, and we give it a good 2 hours, 2 hours and a half if we're almost there, dependent on the group, of course. So after that, it would be either another hour or two, and then I head off to sleep at around 12, which would leave me waking up at 10. Now, unfortunately, I'm no longer at university due to the wonderful government we have. So I'm just wasting my time every day, waking up doing fuck all, and then.
So just while we're talking then, because this is one thing I've been interested in lately of the Division. What's currently happening? Because obviously when they launched, they had this the New York expansion came out, and they had like a bit of a roadmap as to what was happening. And from my memory, that was the last update that they would get. So I always wondered, in terms of Division 2, what's the next stage for that? What's going to happen with the content that's coming? Is there anything else planned or in the pipeline, or are we waiting for Division 3?
I'm not too I haven't delved too deeply into that. I have seen Death Reaver discuss a couple of leaks, whether it be from Reddit or other forums where they discuss insider leaks, and I'm not one to I take them with a grain of salt, because
yeah,
I just flow with the go with the flow. There has been discussions of new content. Warlords of New York, the base game contains 30 levels, and paying $30 extra to get Warlords of New York would paying an extra $30 for Warlords of New York would give you another 10 levels to get and explore more loot and upgrade your character. And now the leaks have been discussing another upgrade for another $30 that would make all the loot you've grinded so hard for and min-maxed absolute and obsolete or obsolete. So right. That has been one leak. Another discussed another manhunt with another storyline, but manhunt, they've had this reoccurring theme of manhunts, which is very linear when it comes to gameplay. I understand the lore behind it, but it's rinse and repeat, and it's been going on for 4 seasons now. you kill this boss, and then after a month or however long, a week, let's say, you kill another boss.
It's a difficult thing for the developers to balance, though, isn't it? Trying to come up with something that's meaningful, that isn't a new game. Do you know what I mean? Or a different premise. It's quite difficult for them to try to find something that would fit in with either the Washington storyline or the New York storyline. Did those storylines get wrapped up in Division? I can't remember, because the last that I played, it turned out that the president was the bad guy, I think. President Ellis, I think, was he the bad guy?
Yeah. A spoiler alert if you...
yeah, spoilers. Just quickly before we get back to that, we've got a new face that's jumped on for those people who are going to be watching this on YouTube. Welcome, Sky. How are you doing, pal?
Good. Sorry for being late.
Hey, how's it going, man? Sky's our Destiny manager, and he's come on to bring his own unique, definitely not stepping into anybody's shoes or filling Nacho's shoes, but he's going to be bringing his own unique and his own take to this podcast episode. So we'll hear from Sky in a little bit. But sorry, Lion, continue. Sure. What was happening?
When it comes to that, I feel like the gaming community as a whole sometimes forgets the aspect of labor cost and the actual, let's call it, reproduction cost or fabrication cost of a video game. And we come to find that we have all these expectations to future updates and future lore, and we neglect the financial and economic aspect of it for the consumer and for the producer. We've had a discussion the other day about how could they expand upon the Division, and I used the example of Hitman, the Hitman trilogy that had its final part come out this year, if not late last year. Yeah, late last year. Yeah. For those who are not aware, Hitman started with Hitman 1 in 2016, and then Hitman 2 in 2019, and then Hitman 3 in 2021. You could carry over, if you've owned the first, you could carry over the maps and have them, what's the word again? Enhanced for the second. And if you own the first and the second, you can move them over to the third. So you would end up with a 200 gigabyte game for the third if you're having all contents, but you could see that there is a chain and there is a sequencing, and they consider it's not obsolete. It's not, we made the first game and it ends there. No, they carried it over. And I understand that Hitman had the sense of having a storyline, whether they wanted to call it a season 1, 2 through 3, but I felt that they were very successful in that they chained the 3 events, and in the last part of the game, let's say the third game, you were able to play 1 and 2 and sequence them into one game. So I thought out loud with it when it comes to Division. Oh, if they're going to make it a Division 3, then you could port over Division 1, and then you could port over Division 2, and you would end up in whatever setting Division 3 is, and you can easily travel to whether New York or Washington from Divisions 1 and 2 respectively. But that would be a very high cost, which is something we tend to forget about.
That's actually Destiny's currently doing that. I was talking to Jitters before this. They are next season. They're bringing back the very first raid from Destiny 1 into the game, and they're trying to combine it all into one game. And I actually did not realize that Hitman 3 had the ability to combine all 3 games into it.
It does.
That's a good shout. I was looking into that. Now I'm definitely looking a little harder.
I always used to think, when it comes to the Division, that it was hampered a little bit by having that Tom Clancy license, because it sort of restricts in terms of setting and story of what it can do, because it's got to fit in with that Tom Clancy world and things like that. It's just evaporated. I just didn't see him just get up and go as he gone. I think he's just disappeared on my screen there.
Yeah, he just.
That's weird.
Just
Did he
took off.
climb up that? Is that a vine? Is that a vine leaf? Did he climb up there or something like that? Or has he got? But yeah, I always wondered if what type of game the Division would be if it didn't have to have and stick by that Tom Clancy license. Because the premise of the I like the character, I like the gameplay, I like the leveling process. It gets a bit too complicated in terms of the build is always just on the edge of being too complicated for me, to be able to sort of devote that time into it. You almost need to have a spreadsheet set up to work out what gear you're going to need for different activities and things like that. But in terms of the gameplay, I would be interested to see what they could do outside of the Tom Clancy world,
That is a point of view, but I personally get bored of the gameplay. It is very linear and it's very rinse and repeat. Yet at the same time, with raids, when we get to talk about how people spend their time on the game, people still grind and they go through having the weekly invaded missions. They do them over. They do the daily challenges. They do as much as they can in hopes of getting better loot. I wouldn't say I'm one to settle for less, but every player has his wants, and every player has his needs. So
Destiny's been doing that though for how many years now? In terms of you're playing the same strike missions, you're doing the same content, you're grinding for this. Almost in some cases, you grind for the same weapons, and they've been pulling that shit for years, and people just keep lapping it up every time, I'm sure Call of Duty there's something similar in terms of how they run their seasonal content is pretty much the same every time, isn't it? With reskin weapons and things like that, there's not a huge amount of change.
Yeah, it seems like it's going down the same path. It seems like all AAA games are going down that path where they'll get you excited about something, and then once it starts the content starts dropping a little bit, they're like, oh, by the way, we're going to bring back that one thing you guys loved from a year ago.
Yeah.
Right? Obviously, with the Vault of Glass is coming with Destiny 1, which they did in Destiny 1 as well. They brought back all the old raids at the end of Destiny 1.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Call of Duty, they're now integrating all the different franchises within Call of Duty. So it used to be Modern Warfare franchise and then Black Ops franchise, and now they've integrated them into one through Warzone. I'm not sure about Division if it's diverse enough or they switch
they brought back
up.
New York. They brought New York back, didn't they? Division 2 was set in Washington, and then the DLC came out and it was set back in New York, and that sort of played to all of the original Division 1 players who it was sort of coming back into the game and things like that. It was nice. It was good that I enjoyed going back to New York.
It was refreshing, yeah. Very nostalgic.
Yeah.
Even though it was the bottom half of Manhattan, but it was still New York, and it paid homage to the first game.
But in terms of the server and the XTRO side of things, I've seen a big uplift in terms of what's happening on the Division side. Because for a while, that sort of I don't know if dwindled is maybe not the right word, but the activity certainly dropped off, and the amount of raids that were getting scheduled dropped off, didn't it? Really, And then all we noticed when we were chatting in admin, and we would notice that, oh look, Division clan's full. And they're about starting a second clan, and we think, well, where did that come from? That just came from nowhere. And I can only put it down to you guys who were keeping it afloat and keeping it active and keeping people engaged, But that seemed to have had a bit of a turnaround. Is there any particular reason for that, or is it just down to admin skill?
It was around Christmas time where I wasn't the division leader then, but I witnessed the let's say the slow traffic we had because it was holiday time and not everyone had the time for video games. So it was very slow. There was very little interaction to the point that some raids had to have the majority of players outsourced from other clan servers, which was frustrating for the division leaders, the division managers, and quite a few players, myself included. It was frustrating to see that this community that we were slowly building and being a part of was not there anymore, in a sense, in an abstract term. After that, we had people who had life change and go up and down and had to have different changes, and they've stepped in and said, I as much as I would like to, but life is beating me up right now, and I have to take a step back. Some people said that I'm not as interested in division, yet I would like to continue from a managerial point of view, which gave room for people who were more willing and had more time, and they had the ability to invest more resources, let's say, into division, whether it be time or whether it be pulling people together for a raid, that was basically it. It was that we came in together and we decided that we're not letting this die down. We want this to continue, and we went from low interactions to averaging 10 players a day. It wasn't overnight, but we got there. Now we rarely outsource.
Well, that's good. And for a game that's what a lot of people would think is approaching its at the end of its content run, I think that's still pretty good to see, definitely, because like I say, the Warlords of New York's been off quite some time now. You would expect to see that drop, and certainly for us, we haven't seen that. All we've seen is it start to grow again. So good. Who are the just a shout out? Is there anybody in the division? I know you've got to be. You can't miss anybody out, but is there any people in particular you want to give a mention to on that side of things who have sort of been crucial in keeping things ticking over?
We have to give credit where credit is due. Lion Ora was patient enough to teach me and tame me to the human being I am, because I was that kid who would join in the raid with the shitty build, and Lion Ora would lose his mind, and everyone would slowly bully me into into having a better build. But he was patient enough, and he brought me up. And Clever also helped. He was the first person who welcomed me into the clan. Clever and Death,
right.
Both of them, they welcomed me into the clan. And from then onwards, I started to mingle with them and learn from them. With the different assets and aspects and ideologies. So these three people, they really go out of their way to keep the community, whether from Division or Destiny.
It's good to see, man. Those guys are great guys, and we're certainly pleased to have you on board. We've all noticed a big uplift. So we hopefully it'll continue when the division stuff it'll take over. What about Outriders, Lion? Are you going to be dipping your toe into Outriders? Because that's almost like a division clone, almost, isn't it? From what I've seen.
I haven't been paying much attention. I don't know. I haven't played the game. I haven't watched reviews or videos, and I haven't piqued much interest into it. So I can't really say.
Well, you, Jedis, what's your plans for games moving on? Are you going to be dipping your toe in Outriders, or is this Destiny Return still on the cards?
Destiny's definitely still on the return. I downloaded last night Outriders demo because I realized it was public. I thought you had to pre-order it in order to get that access, but it's open to everybody. So I did download that. So I do want to dabble in that a little bit. It does look really promising.
Yeah, I played a minute.
How was it?
It wasn't good.
No, classic.
I'll give it another shot.
Don't tell Balpine.
I really enjoyed the gameplay. I think what's stopping me from pre-ordering is it's kind of like a one and done game. It doesn't have the replayability that Division and Destiny have. But it definitely gave me Division vibes as far as the movement and like the superpowers aspect of it. Kind of reminded me of the specialist perks that you could get on Division, just a little bit more far-fetched.
How's the loot system? If you've like always played it.
I honestly do not know. Hey,
Has anybody else played Outriders at all? Like more than a couple games?
I'll give it another go. Definitely will give it another go. But,
Yeah, because I'm curious about the loot system and how that applies. Because I know Division and Destiny are very set on their loot system, and everything is very organized. So if they can compare, that'd be pretty. I would assume
it must have something. Kyrox has put 50 odd hours in.
Oh, really?
On a 2-hour demo.
Hard. Yeah, I beat the demo and I thought that was that, and then I seen that Kyrox was like, "Yeah, I keep playing it. I just
playing different characters with different abilities and all that." Yeah.
Yep. I only played with the one.
You can carry your progress over, and I don't know if you can carry your weapons over or anything like that, but I'm guessing you can. But yeah, he's 50 hours strong in it.
That's amazing. But that's just Kyrox, though, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely a trait that he's got, isn't it? You know, he's all in.
He's a marathon gamer. Yeah.
I feel like we should transition.
I don't know where
now that he's
time
here.
from, you know? Yeah, Sky, where does Kyrox, you might know where time from to game? Because the guy's got a full-time job as well, hasn't he? And he's still
he just
like,
doesn't sleep,
get 2 hours a night. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. He's still one person because on the Destiny side, I operate in a Pacific time zone. So when it becomes like 9 p.m. here, and I sign on, Discord is quiet. Nobody's online. But that's when Kyrox wakes up in the AM, the break of dawn, playing. So there are times when I'm not hanging out with my girlfriend, I would sign on Destiny late night here, and then I play with Kyrox from time to time. And he would ping during that time too. So yeah, for as far as I know, he just doesn't need sleep. And he has too many games he wants to play. So all the power
he's a hardcore gamer for sure. So Sky, go and tell us a little bit about yourself. First time on the on our podcast. Hopefully not the last time. Hopefully, are we going to get you back on?
Don't know. As long as you'll have me. If I'm not too boring, you know, I'm not usually a quiet person.
It's the podcast. You get used to it.
Give us a few lines, man. Tell us about yourself.
I go by the name of Sang. Sky came from my first initial and my last name, which is Kyung. And when you put that together, it's Kyung, but nobody gives a damn about trying to pronounce that correctly. So they looked at the first 3 syllables, Sky, and just started calling me Sky. And that actually came from my first Destiny clan. It was like 7 people in that clan. In Destiny 1, I hopped onto an LFG raid. They liked me enough where they invited me into their small little clan. I believe it was for the Kingsfall, when Kingsfall just came out in Destiny 1. And they started calling me Sky. I didn't really play online or with other people until then. That was my first experience playing online on a mic. So that's where my name comes from. I'm gonna turn 30 years old in about 5 days. 4 days. This Thursday. It's my birthday.
Throw Super in jail.
Yeah, that's in the works. Super, I'll remember. I still remember if you're watching. That's gonna happen, and yeah.
What have you got planned?
Well, yesterday, because I can't really celebrate my birthday during the weekdays, because I'm now just a month in my full-time job, my new one, but my girlfriend's probably gonna come over with cake, probably eat that together.
The double entendre.
What? Yeah.
That's a double entendre.
Yeah. So I went to the beach yesterday with her to celebrate. I got presents that she prepared for me. She got me shoes, jeans, and a sweater. So I think that tells me something. She really wants me to up my wardrobe game.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
You'll learn with time that women
exactly.
like to
I
dress.
told her like, yo, like I think I dress pretty well. I think you're trying to tell me something here, but
at least it wasn't soap and deodorant.
Yeah, true. Jeez, always there's a silver lining to it all. Yeah, but
so
yeah,
whereabouts in the world? Whereabouts the world are you from? Then Sky, tell us.
I was born in Korea. Then because my dad's he worked for Samsung back in the day, and he really wanted to. He went back and forth when I was young from Silicon Valley to Seoul. So I came with him when I was a year old. Lived in San Jose, California, near Silicon Valley, until I had to move back to Korea. And I went to grade school in Korea until I was about 4th grade. And I came back to Southern California. And then I lived here ever since. I went to college in LA. I'm a California kid through and through. Hence the Lakers hat. Bought it right after the Lakers won the championship last year. And I currently live here in Orange County. It's like an hour drive south from LA. And I love being here. I can't imagine myself moving, even though the European half wants me to move over there and be in their time zone.
Are you bilingual then?
Yeah, completely. Korean is the language I use at home with my parents, so that was my first language. I learned a little bit of English when I was like very little when I was here near Silicon Valley, but
Ballpen can almost
I
speak
also
English.
live in Korea.
Yeah, you can
make fun of him for it.
better than I can speak one.
No, but that's the thing. Like, I can be all like witty and all that, like quip with people on Discord because I have time to think and type down, right? But in a podcast setting, I was a bit nervous coming online because I usually think in Korean and I need to translate that through. And some English words don't exist in Korean, so there are long moments where I can't think of a word, or I'm stuttering, or I completely mispronounce something.
See, at least you have the excuse of having 2 languages. People like Ballpeen and I, it's gibberish, and then we hope it comes out proper, but it probably doesn't. But it makes sense to us in our head.
Right. Yeah.
I expected Jit to be able to speak French. I thought all Canadians could speak French.
Well, that's the problem. Is my background is French, so my mom's French, my dad's side through time is French, so I have the French last name. And I was in French immersion for about 6 years, so I spoke perfect French, and then struggled because I had dyslexia and AD and all that stuff. So I was learning 2 languages instead of focusing on one. And then I moved to Mexico for 4 years, so I learned Spanish. So now I'm just a combination of 3 different languages that can't speak properly. So
you just forgot about it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm half Russian from my mother's side, and I live in the Middle East, so I know Russian and English, if you haven't noticed, and Arabic.
That's really cool.
And
it is.
What's your main? Sorry, I don't want to cut you off. What's your go-to?
In my household, with my mother, it's a combination of Arabic and Russian and English when you want to call something with its proper name. With my father, it is Arabic and English. With my it's university now, it's English and Arabic. So yeah, it depends on what you do, but with the universities here, they're very bilingual in this
What are you most comfortable with?
Yeah, well, the learning, the education is in English, but the communication is in Arabic.
All right.
It baffles me, I can barely speak one language, never mind.
Yeah, one of these days I'm not going to be the dumbest person in the room.
That's
So
what I love about different
I'm always
languages.
in awe of you guys that are talking to me in my native tongue, you know, and you speak it more often than not better than what I do. So
You guys saw
it's amazing
that
to see.
question I threw in Destiny chat because I had a random thought. Like, we have so many international clan members here in the server where English wasn't their first language, right? But how do they get so good at it? Like, I think
And surpassing
about a
majority
kid
of
like
us.
Nacho. Yeah, it's crazy. It's so interesting to me to like learn about different people's backgrounds and what they use at home and how they think, right? Like how I think in Korean and have to translate through in English. But yeah, I like that our clan is international. Like, I've never had a community like this, so I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, we have a couple people from Israel. We've got people from Africa, correct? South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa, a couple people
Um,
there.
I know at one point in
We did
time
have
we
a
had a
couple of
couple
people from.
Aussies.
Oh, we did. Yeah, we did. Actually, isn't Skies? Isn't he from New Zealand?
Yeah, yeah, he is.
I'm pretty
We
sure he's
got,
from that part of the world. I can't remember if it was Australia or New Zealand. I put it down in New Zealand.
I believe Poi is in India, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've got a couple from India. We've got a couple of guys. I think one or two guys from Pakistan. When we started, we had. Do you remember Silent? He was from Iraq,
Yeah.
and Abbas were from Afghanistan, and
Same with
yeah,
Mushroom.
we had a lot of guys from all over the world. You know, we've got a Dane, I think, and a couple of Dutch members. We always seem to have a good group of Dutch guys seem to join wherever we've been in the past.
Be cool if we do like a roll call. I know we did in the past with our previous servers, but let everybody feel comfortable. Like, hey, where are you from? Either put a flag, not just like on your name, but like get more interactive. Where you either can like put a emote or something like that. Like, where are you from? And we can see the diversity of the whole clan and see where everybody's from. Because it's funny how there's a couple people in our clan that are from my province, not even like just my province. They live probably 30 minutes away from me. And we just randomly are meeting inside of our Discord server. And I'm sure that will happen to like a lot of people in our clan as well.
That super lives like 40 minutes away from me.
Probably shows up, throws eggs at your house and runs away.
Not
That's
to
a fan
cut
of
you
me.
off.
Child support.
Yeah.
Not to cut you guys off, but the last time we were proud about our nationalities, a world war broke out.
Yeah. We'll make sure that doesn't happen this time.
I will say
that's
I'm
why
the
you have
guy
Canada. Canada's like, come on, guys, let's all get together. We're all friends. Don't.
Yeah.
I will say I'm the guy that always throws in the dark, twisted jokes in the server or on the game.
Oh, I bite my tongue. Trust me. I can. We probably lose half our members if I kept my humor in it.
No, I just let it go.
Oh, actually, while you're here, do you want to? Because we can segue into the featured member since we did that last time.
Okay.
With Backyard. Backyard.
Yeah, Backyard.
Yeah.
I wanted to mention that other than having many nationalities in our clan, we have people of different age groups. We have the young teenagers, let's say. We have
Super.
Pardon?
No, go ahead. Continue.
Yeah, we have the young teenagers, we have the adults, we have the parents, and then we have the
and then we have Dash.
The senior citizen.
And then we have the elderly, and then we have Dash, who's a couple centuries old.
Elderly.
I wouldn't use elderly, but let's say what's the politically correct word to use? Term.
Mature.
Yeah, mature after parenthood, bit experience in the parenthood. Backyard is one of those people. He's in his 50s. and I've had the pleasure of running with him on legendaries and teaching him the mechanics of Iron Horse, which is a very, there's only 2 raids in the game, but Dark Hours is very straightforward. Iron Horse requires a bit more understanding, and having a person in his, yeah, having a person in his age, and Backyard, he's been well exposed to different facets of life. He's a music producer who's, hopefully I'm remembering this correctly, he started in the Netherlands and he moved to California, and he worked with those with very good record labels, and he's just living his life, and the division for him, having the people giving him this experience and teaching him and taking the time to run him through the raids or grinding for normal gear, it really shows how we as a community come as a whole. I was in a raid group where there was a 50-year-old lady and a 70-year-old man also on a raid, who have had the opportunity to have people walk them through and show them what the raid is and what's behind the big curtain. Oh, the raid, 8 players, how am I gonna get 8 players together for this game and have them coordinate and so on. But in that group, the 70-year-old and the 50-year-old, they were just taking their time, they were having fun at the end of the day, or drinking a glass of wine and just having a laugh with people from Iran, who can speak German, and the people being from German. So it really shows the cultural diffusion we have as a community, from nationalities, from age groups. It's a big melting pot, to say the least.
It is. We've got a mixed bag of members, and the couple of the ones that I'd shout out that we have in the group, who on the Destiny side at least, anyways, EJ, who's not as active in the server, but he's one of the nicest guys you could ever team up with. Do you know what I mean? And have a conversation with, and throw in Springer as well. I think Springer's probably our, Eric, you'll know, is he our oldest member from the Destiny side? I'm pretty sure he is.
I heard that, but his voice is very deceptive. He sounds like a little kid, Springer, but I found out he was older than most of us in the clan.
Yeah. I think the guy was
very surprising.
He's a Vietnam vet. So
that's crazy.
Pitching his age at that point is gonna put him up near his 70s, I'm guessing, easily.
Yeah.
Or heading towards his 70s, if not.
While.
Yeah. But he's had some amazing life experiences when he doesn't sort of brag, he doesn't sort of bring anything up, but he's very generous, and he'll be able to talk to him and ask him about things, and he's such a nice guy.
Both of them, EJ and Springer, I know they're not very active on the Discord side of things, but they are not shy about at least joining party chats that we've created.
They'll always join party chats. So they'll always team up with you. If you ask them to say, I'm going to run this activity, do you mind jumping and giving me a hand? And if they're online, they'll do it, no problem at all. There's no
really great guys. Had a pleasure playing with them last couple of weeks.
We can't leave out Old Man JPav, and I'm only saying it because he's not on the podcast to defend himself, but Old Man JPav is getting up there now, you know, for an old time. Scott's age quicker than any of us anyway, you know, due to the rage and alcoholism that they all suffer from. But
of course, it's you, Dash, giving GPAB a shot. He might have been butthurt if his name didn't pop up. You're the only one who looks out for him.
Well, I remember
what's happening in Destiny
too was I was feeling like always left out because I'm one of the only founders that doesn't have kids. So I feel like the young pup And then I told Jeep, I'm like, man, I feel so young compared to you guys. It's like, dude, you're only like a couple years younger than me. Doesn't feel like it.
Yeah, when you have kids,
Sorry, what were you saying, Dash?
you age. When you have kids, you age quicker than everybody else, for sure. Ball Payne's only 19. Look at him. Do you know what I mean?
I don't even remember how old I am.
That's what it does to you. That's what it does. Oh, there we are. Look, Sky, tell us a little bit what's going on in Destiny at the minute.
In terms of the game or with the clan?
Just what's the latest? I know we halfway into a season. I think we are. We've got about 50 days or 60 days left of the season.
Yeah, about 50 days. Yeah, question mark countdown on Charlemagne. Yeah, I think it's about 50 days. But yeah, we're midway through the season. I think that dead time in between.
We're approaching that. I thought that as well. I think there's a few people saying we're going to take a little short break, ready to come back refreshed for the next season.
It's that sweet spot when everybody's got done power grinding to the cat with their pinnacles. And I think the couple things left for this season is there's a unreleased strike right now that's related to Battlegrounds that's going to release. And I think Guardian Games, which I've never been a part of. Last time I was around, but I heard it was a huge grind fest.
It was, It wasn't too bad. I quite liked it. It wasn't too bad, to be fair. But
right, all I heard was complaints about it. I really wish they could bring back Heir Apparent during it, or maybe a new exotic. Who knows? But only a couple things left. I think a lot of people are excited about the sandbox changes. They're nerfing stasis, which is sorely needed. I myself have used stasis as a crutch in PvP, but I guess Bungie heard a lot of the majority complaints on it, how it's so overpowered. Everybody has to use stasis to be in the meta to compete in any way in PvP.
Aren't they sunsetting?
Yeah. They came out with the state of the game announcement. It wasn't on a normal call, it was the state of the game. Yeah, and they went over a lot of different things during that. And Bungie, they're so good at building hype at the most opportune moments, keep the community engaged, get excited for, and we just kind of live off that excitement and hype until
it was good. I think when the announcement was made, and people were reading it in the server and then posting their takes and their favorite bits from it and things like that. And somebody posted, I can't remember who it is, so apologies, but somebody posted and saying, look, Destiny 2 is now the Destiny 2 killer's killer. Do you know what I mean? It was so good at sort of bringing back the hype of, and everybody at that point was sort of like, all is forgiven, let's go. Everybody was totally psyched for it.
Right, but that's just how it is for a game that's been around for 7, now going on 8. A live service game, everything comes as a cyclical thing, right?
Yeah.
Like the meta shifts, the sandbox shifts cyclically, and the whole sunsetting, like that made the entire community happy. But I think Ziggles and I, when that discussion you just talked about happened in our Discord, that what are they going to do to make new weapons feel fresh, right? And we're kind of expressed our concerns on the power creep of it all. Like they're gonna have to come out with weapons that trump the earliest versions of it, or new perks that are kind of overpowered, and it snowballs from there. So they made it very vague in that state of the game, right?
They're in an impossible situation, because when Destiny 1 was released, and I can't remember if it was House of Wolves or the Dark Below expansion, there was only other than, I'm not including raid weapons in this, but they might include maybe 1 or 2 new legendary weapons. One or
House
two.
of Wolves. It was the least amount of content for all the DLC.
Yeah, but people lost their mind because there was still 2, and now you expect. Our expectation has become a lot bigger, hasn't it, in terms of how much we want from a content release in terms of weapons and things like that. But back in the early days, you'd get 1 or 2, maybe 3 weapons introduced, and that was it.
Well, remember Lord of
Right.
Wolves was released with the what was that? It wasn't Trials. It was a PvE or like Coliseum. Like you'd go through one section.
It was Prison of Elders.
Prison of
Skolas,
Elders.
yeah.
Yeah, that was fun.
That was hard. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was.
Skolas was actually very difficult.
Yeah. It was one of
Everybody
the most
waited for
difficult
the
encounters.
solar burn week to be able
Yeah.
to clear
Yeah.
Skolas quickly with Gallahorns, but that was the whole issue back then, right? Like, and that's why they introduced sunsetting, is because like there's no reason to play with any other weapons besides your most meta guns.
Yeah, well, they did. Do you remember, Sky, in Destiny 1, they did have a version of sunsetting where you could only level certain weapons up to a certain power level. And they actually ran that before. And then you couldn't bring them up. You know, any other weapon you could bring up, but there were certain ones that wouldn't be included in that. And I can't remember there being any uproar about that at the time, or anybody that...
They were a lot more gentle with it when they did it back in D1. This time around,
Right.
like, hey, I'm taking away 90% of your guns, and I'm going to give you 5 new ones to replace it.
Yeah, I guess the difference was there was a lot longer between content as well, wasn't there, between and Destiny 1 as well. So we didn't have that sort of quarterly cycle of content coming in and things like that. But I must admit, for me, my game time's reduced, so having to grind, and it's quite expensive to bring a weapon up to its highest level in terms of the materials needed and things like that. And if I've got to do that regularly, it's just going to not be worth it for me, you know. So it's I don't know how to balance it, but it's a tough one.
I mean,
because it's like the weapons don't feel special if I know I'm going to lose it in a year's time. It's just where I can't get attached to a particular weapon. Do you know? Because if you think back, Sky, did you play D1 a lot, Sky?
I played quite a bit. Probably not as much as a lot of the clan members here, but I've played throughout all 4 years. Yeah.
One of my favorite weapons was the hung jury in day 1.
From Dead Orbit.
Yeah, love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and
with explosive rounds.
I would be gutted if that was. I was really attached to that weapon. Do you know what I mean? I used it a lot, and I wouldn't say it was necessarily overpowered or anything like that, but it was a good weapon. It did well for PvE and things like that.
Right.
But if that was taken away from, I'd feel pretty cheated out of Bungie taking away my favorite weapon, and do you know what I mean? Because I wasn't interested in grinding into the replacements and things like that.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a problem though if they had replaced those weapons with, you know, grindable, you know, comparable weapons. The problem with Beyond Light when it released was they sunsetted 80% of our current vault and only brought, you know, 10 or 20. But I always thought, you know, that's just, you know, that would be remedied throughout the seasons. It's all about drip feed content, right? Like this season, I think they brought a lot of good weapons back that you'd want, right, in your loadout. And I understand, but like to your point, like I hopped back to Destiny 1 not too long ago because our clan had an interest to go back and do some raids, and I looked at the weapons and I had completely forgotten that you had to grind the perks out.
Yeah.
I missed
You know what I mean? And I had so many weapons in my vault where I just couldn't, you know, give a damn about unlocking all these perks that would make these weapons so feels great, you know, and one of a kind. But I'm glad that that's, you know, out of the game, and that, you know, completely takes out a lot of the grind that you had spoken about.
See, I missed that,
and maybe that's why they didn't need to be introducing new weapons a lot of the time as well, maybe because it took such a long time to grind that one up to its full capability.
Right. Exotics were like that as well. Like it would drop, but you had to unlock all its perks, and would have to have the end game materials to unlock some of those perks as well. And that is a lot of time investment just to be able to use a gun that you want to use right away because you just got it, right? That excitement.
Does a division have a system like that, Lion? Do you know, how does a division handle stuff like weapons? Do they just have a loot pool and that's it? There's nothing in terms of bringing new weapons in and pushing old weapons out or anything like that?
They've had that system with the manhunts, which are now 4 or 5 seasons. And they would add new loot. They would add new loot to the loot pools with each season. The focus of the most recent season was skills, so they added a lot of weapons and gear that would, well, a couple of weapons and gear items that would enhance skill damage, skill efficiency. They revamped it. They revamped the system. Before that update, let's say the legendary missions required a more niche, either tank build or a good coordinating DPS team. Now you can solo it with a skill build and just sit in cover and let your turrets do all the work. They had a couple of exotics that, let's say, are not so specific. They're more general, added to the loot pools. And then you have the weapons, the 3 weapons actually they're raid exclusive, and people just play the raids to get them. And I keep telling them that the raids are not for the weapon. The raids are for knowledge and experience and team synergy. I keep begging them to, because it is, and I remember on the admin chat that has been discussed, having players that just jump in, get the exotic, and then leave. So even though I have the players who have been there since day one but haven't had the exotic, and new players who would ask that, oh, how am I going to get the exotic out of this? We're not playing the raid for the exotic. We're playing the raid to have fun.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. It's an interesting system that finds Sky on. I don't know if you knew on the system in the division. In their raids, only one person gets the exotic.
Well, not one person.
Oh no! Only one exotic drops, and you decide as a group. Do you who picks it up or what? How does that work?
There's 8 players, and each member on a once a week gets to get 5 keys. 4 from boxes and 1 from the boss. So that's
Right.
5 weeks as a standard, let's say. If you do the same raid, again, in the span of 1 week and do it 5 times, you wouldn't get the 4 boxes, but you would get 5 keys off the boss, killing them 5 times.
Right.
If you have the time for it. The 8 players would group up, and then we would see how many boxes, how many boxes opened would give us the exotic drop. And based on that, whichever player gets it, it's, if they have it, they have to give it. If they don't have it, they get to keep it. And when it comes to choosing out of the eight players who gets to get the weapon, who doesn't have it, of course, it has to be given to the person who doesn't have the weapon. I give them a choice. I say, we can either leave it up to chance and play rock, paper, scissors in game, because that's an emote, unfortunately. We can give it to the person with the highest level, which we call shade level, or we pick a number, or I pick a number, I text it to someone, and then the persons who are concerned in receiving this weapon, they choose a number, and whoever is closest gets it.
Right. Interesting.
Wow, that's
so much different.
Yeah.
Destiny,
Very
you're gonna get
different.
the 7th, like you're gonna get your 7th Galahorn before the one person gets his first. It's just always how it works. It seems like.
Mills.
Yeah.
But then
This one
Yeah,
is more
well, the thing about
strategic.
division, you can drop weapons for others to pick up, right?
As long as they were
do
with
that.
you, yeah.
So yeah, so
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, you can
that
share
in
the
itself is
good thing. Yeah.
right. I would have, man, that's the perfect breeding grounds for selfishness and
It
toxicity.
is, yeah.
I mean, I
And
would
I
have
think
invoked.
that we have had problems, I think, Lion, hasn't there? There's been some issues in the past where somebody's sort of who shouldn't have maybe had the weapon has just grabbed it or whatever. You know, I'm sure I read something in one of your chats that had happened fairly recently.
It was a misunderstanding in a matter of miscommunication.
That's a good diplomatic answer. I like it.
Yeah, it's always a misunderstanding when you get caught.
I
but it
would have
is.
invoked my admin powers to.
Oh, I would have lost mine a long time ago for the stupid shit I say in the game. Oh God. But the ability to share gear is really beneficial, especially when we have right now in the game we have a couple of players who have not had the Warlords of New York or do have the Warlords of New York and are getting there, and they're leveling up and they're getting their gear together. We do have instances where experienced and veteran players, they say, I'm available at this time, we would like to help you, or a person asks for assistance and then somebody jumps in, and or we're playing a normal game and then in a raid and somebody gets good gear and he says, all right, here, take this. And that is one thing we do with the raids. Other than having an exotic that's specific to the raid, there are gear sets that are specific to the raid. So we do that. We always check, all right, who needs one? All right, we got this dropping, who needs it? And it is a really good thing to have in the division, the ability to share. You don't have that in Destiny?
No, it's
No.
Destiny's min-maxing and stuff like that is nowhere near the level of
No, I know.
Division. So
The loot pool isn't as rich either, is it really? It's not as rich or as diverse, I don't find either, you know.
yeah, I actually had to stop playing Division because I felt like I had to be a mathematician to keep up
Yeah,
with everybody.
Exactly the same. It was getting so complicated to work out all of the different facets of each individual piece of gear and how they interacted with each other and what that did to your overall sort of DPS output or anything like that.
That's great for the min-maxers though. It really
Yeah.
is. There's a lot of people who they love being able to crank out just the best possible, and then there's people like me who, oh, this looks cool, I'm gonna use this.
Which is pretty ironic because I find Destiny more complicated than Division.
Wow.
Oh no.
With all the abilities, probably, I would assume.
Point
Like,
and
yeah,
click,
that makes
that's all there is
sense.
to it.
Yeah, but when you have like the loot trees and all that stuff, or not the loot trees, the specialty trees, I can understand that. Like when I first played Destiny, when it first came out, I stuck to this is what I'm comfortable with. And everybody's like doing different abilities and all that stuff. I was like, nope, this
It's
is what
not
I'm
like
used to.
that anymore, though.
It's not like that, no.
No, you've got like one of three elements, well, four now, and then you've got, one of three categories that you can pick out of for each element. And each category has a different main perk. Like 9 times out of 10, if I pick a certain skill tree, it's because I want that one thing. I want to be able to put the bubble, or I want to be able to tether a whole bunch of stuff instead of shooting a bunch of arrows, or I want the well. And there's only really one thing that I personally pick out of it, and I'm a dunce even by layman's terms as far as min-maxing, because you've got the intellect, discipline, strength, all of that, and I'm still picking the coolest looking gear.
It's complicated in different ways. There's two different games, right? Like I think Division is complicated in the sense where you have a lot of numbers, right? A lot of different stats.
Definitely.
Whereas Destiny, it's like
There's 6, isn't it?
the whole variety of activities there are and what drops a pinnacle or powerful to progress your character, where to ground out weapons and all these different perks, studying up on, the variety of different activities, and they don't do a really good job. Like, they don't really do a great job like explaining. For like, if I put myself in the shoes of a new player coming into Destiny now, because it's not free, right? They don't really do a good job explaining the mechanics and the systems of the game and where to look. And I don't think they do a good job in that. They cater largely towards vets who've stuck around.
I've been playing forever and I still don't know what's going on half the time.
Right. So like I said, it's complicated in two different ways. Like I think every game has that level of complexity. I really don't like it though when games like dumb it down for you. I like that challenge to be able to figure out what's the most efficient way to progress your character and do it, right? But I mean, that's besides what I love about these games is the community aspect of being able to make new friends and be able to game with others. And that's been a big boon, I think, for both games, the Division and Destiny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that I've always had the lingering initiative to have or find a game where both communities can play and interact, because you've mentioned that people in the Division are very niche and keep to themselves, and I admit, yes, I do want to break that barrier, and personally I do want to get to know the Destiny community, whether it be from admin, founder, or Destiny players. I've always wanted to find a game that we could all settle on, even if it was Minecraft or Terraria, just something to link both communities.
That's a goal. That's definitely something I have in mind that I want to find as well,
Valheim.
for sure.
We've had those opportunities. Fall Guys would have been one. Among Us would have been one.
We've
right,
tried pushing this.
Right. I think
we need the right mix, don't we, of timing the game and timing and all a whole host of normal life factors all need to line up for that type of thing to happen, I think.
See,
And we were lucky enough to get a pandemic, weren't we? Do you know what I mean? Which helped help the community sort of forge a little bit, in the early and helped us to get where we are. And that was purely down to the fact that everybody was stuck in and having to work from home or on furlough, or and people were just reaching out for some place just to hook up with people and chat to people and things like that.
Yeah, it's kind of odd to say, but the pandemic kind of really helped XTRO to grow as a tight-knit community.
Yeah.
I don't blame the Division side either, Lion, what you just said. If I was a Division player in this server and I saw how loud our Destiny players are in the general chats, like I would have been intimidated actually to insert myself in any of the conversations that just goes around in the general channels. Like, our guys are very involved and
the Destiny
energetic. Yeah, very vocal. And that's
in the
also
COD back in the day. We kept them locked up behind a roll so nobody could see the stuff that we put in there.
And that's also just because like it's strengthened by the numbers, right? Like people come out when they see their friends come out to the general chat to chat, like they now feel safe to come out. I think it's just creating that spark. Like whoever is in the Division side that has that following or charisma to start, something in the general chat in terms of conversation that you guys wanted to lead or take part in, I think that could bode well, right? But but those are just my thoughts on it.
Well, listen, guys, I've got to love you and leave you, I'm afraid. I've just looked at the watch there, and it's 8:20, and I've got some family stuff to do. So I'm going to leave you guys to finish, because I also am looking forward to hearing the answer to that question that JPAV posted. I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody's answer is going to be for that, so you can't ignore that one. So I will. Thanks for joining, Lion and Sky, and I'll catch you guys later on. Take it easy, everybody.
Thanks
for
Take it easy.
Dash.
Cheers.
Yeah, we should get to those questions. I feel like our Destiny members who've submitted those questions would be upset if we don't get to them.
So you picked out some of the good ones, right? Like some ones you wanted?
I think Bob Peen linked it in the podcast chat.
Yeah. So we have we'll copy the link and post it up for you. Let you take charge on that. Now the third question, okay? We don't make it a habit of announcing who asks what questions. I would like to, ask the third question. The person who asked it, you make sure to let us know who asked that.
I can't bring up where you've put it in.
All right, here, I'll do it.
The questions are, why don't you host, Popin, since
we have
you have all the questions?
Is there one thing you could change with XTRO? What would it be? Anybody?
I'll go first. All right. Having a better synergy between the Division and the Destiny community, a more interaction from both sides. That would definitely something I would like to push for.
It's definitely a good one.
I've been such a
One
silent
thing.
partner. I have nothing really to contribute at the moment. It's more behind the scenes kind of stuff, so nothing public to share.
What about you,
I
Scott?
changed that logo behind you, Balpine. Extra. I don't like the color. There's one thing I want to change about
You don't like
Extra
baby blue?
is-
Hold on. You don't like baby blue?
It looks. I don't know. I think it could be better. That's the thing. I like the original one with the red and gray. I think a lot of people are split on it. We have like two extra emojis, right? The old one
Yeah.
was red and gray, and this is the new one. I prefer the old one personally, but I know a lot of people like the new one too. I'm just not sure. But for me, there's one thing to change. I would change the logo, I think.
Logo.
I can't find the original copy.
Can't remember the original.
I don't
I
want
like
to pull
the
it up and
X
let you
design.
guys. Yeah, I don't want to pull it up and let you guys know that I've been playing games this whole time in the background.
All good.
No, I can't
Yeah.
find it. All right, then we have. How did you find XTRO and why did you stay?
I came back to Destiny because there was a moment in my life where I sold off all my gaming consoles to focus on my life, and when I bought the PS4 Slim so I can play video games again, I thought I'd jump back to Destiny 2, and that was also the time when they announced that they were going to do a live event with the Almighty crashing. I don't know if you know.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. So I hopped on, and I think that's when I started playing, and then did a lot of research on trying to get prepared for the season of Arrivals. And during that time, I was like, hey, I was part of a clan before, and that really elevated my playing experience. So I would go on Reddit, search for a clan, and that perfect timing, right? Time and place. I saw GPAP's post, and GPAP brought me in. I think it was June. And why I stayed is probably because I was made an admin. I'm just kidding. But I mean, partly, I think that sense of responsibility has definitely led me to be more involved with the game. Like, I probably would have dropped it, like, here and there to take longer breaks, but really, like, the right, correct political answer is the community, right? Like, I made a lot of friends during this COVID time through the clan and this Discord, and a lot of that core group that I would be gaming with has changed over time. I mean, when I first joined, it was like Chestnut, Kyrox, Metallica, Phoenix. Then it moved on to like the EU guys with Shadow, Pay, and now it's a whole different group of other guys that have been in the clan for a long time that I've now gotten a chance to game with, right? Ed, Chaos, Chevy, who's new within the past couple months, and he's been very involved. And can't forget, Bowles, who's we were brought in right around the same time. And he also lives in California, so we've been gaming a lot. But yeah, it's just a group of people I've met that I could play games with, but not just that, but ask like, how are you guys doing? How have you been? What's going on in your life, right? Like, we share we share a lot about each other's lives, right? To each other. I think that human connection is something that we all kind of crave during this time where everybody's kind of quarantined and stuck at home. And that's probably the reason why I've been able to stay. And that's to somebody else's point earlier that COVID has probably helped this clan grow in a lot of sense, because a lot of people kind of feel the same way as I do about being part of this community. So yeah, would be my answer. Long-winded answer to your question.
Good answer.
Yeah.
What about you, Lion?
Here's before I get into that, here, Sky, here's for the human interaction part, a virtual hug for you.
Hey.
The division side of things. Joining a clan for me was to kill the curiosity I had towards what raids are. And I looked it up on Reddit, and I saw clever Mr. XP posted, and I messaged him, and he gave me the Discord, and then I got acquainted. What made me stay was the feeling of the ambience being so relaxed. It wasn't as stressful. I mean, a lot of clans, division centered clans, are they're so intense that, oh, we have all these roles, we have all these requirements, you need to be this, you need to be that. I mean, our veteran, our raid veteran has 11 plus clears, where other clans, the raid veteran has 100 plus clears. It shows what each clan is more for. But the division, it's so relaxed. It's not as intimidating. When clans have so many restrictions to it, it gives a sense of intimidation, especially to new players, which would fend them off eventually. With XTRO, it wasn't that. It was very, very calm and very relaxing, and it just pulls you in warmly and wants you to be a part of it from the division side, which is really what kept me going, even abstractly in the lowest times, and got everyone to reinvigorate and push back and pump into it energy that later reciprocated, and here we are.
Yeah, I like hearing that. That's one of the things that I like about XTRO is there's no real pressure. Like, we try to keep the elitists, talk down, and just keep it casual, have fun. If you want to go try hard, by all means, have at it. Just make sure you guys are having fun while you're doing it, and it's it's worked out extremely well. I know we have a couple instances where people get extremely worked up and stuff like that, and they get all into it, and when it's all said and done with, they're like, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. And everybody's like, yeah, no hard feelings, it happens. And that's what I love about it. Everybody working together and just keeping it close. What about you, Jitters?
The Shadow founder.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember the question now.
How did you find XTRO?
Oh, how did I find XTRO? Well, XTRO was in a group chat between the four of us founders. We've managed to bounce around between clan to clan, building and leaving, and building and leaving. So it was, the previous one was mostly became a Destiny clan, and mine was the caught on the side, and I was just present again. And due to conflicts, there was a depart, and then I got a message from Dash saying, hey, we're going to start it up again. The three of us, plus you in? I'm like, obviously I'm coming in. We got the dynamic four. And he's like, this one's going to be different, I promise. This is how it's going to be structured. And that's how XTRO was basically born, was four of us just talking in a group chat, trying to shoot whatever we could do, ideas, whatever we got. And then it birthed to this. So, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
no real origin story.
Yeah, wasn't XTRO initially just like a filler name? Like Dash just put together something just so that it had a name?
Yeah, I think Gpov came up with it for Extraordinary Gamers, was his idea of the thought of it, and I think it kind of just stuck, and we're like, yeah, it suits us. If I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember. I'll bet you if we go back to that group chat and scroll up, we'll find like our talking points and all that stuff, which would be kind of cool to screenshot and share, like how it was kind of birthed with time. But yeah.
I have a running joke with, I don't know if it was GPath or with Dash, is like, if y'all find If y'all end up becoming unhappy with me, y'all will just leave me again and start another clan elsewhere. Like with the amount of times you guys have left clans and built up another community. But I think Dash always talks to me from time to time in DMs like, hey, I like what I'm seeing in the community side. We've got really good people there, and you know, good job and all that. So that positive reinforcement, I really
You should
like.
see what he says behind your back, though.
I knew it. But yeah, it's been great.
Yeah, we're not going anywhere this time. It
No,
definitely-
Good.
the other
that was
ones
the
were
agreement.
out of our control. We didn't want to. It just happened.
Yeah.
All right, now for the next question.
Wait, hold on. What about you, Balpine?
What about me? The same as Jitters. Got a message like, "Hey, do you want to do this again?" And it's my thing was, yeah, but if we do it, we keep it this time. We don't disband, because we've Dash has made 3 communities now. It started with the Gamer Hive, and I'm not sure. I came late to the party with the Gamer Hive, but I think GPAV was a similar situation like me and you, Jitters, where he joined and then just became a big part of the community.
Yeah, we were starting as members, and we just loved where it was going. And I think the 3 of us, definitely took the initiative in our own game specific. I think GPOV was definitely in Destiny, and so were you. And I was in COD, and they just said, "Hey, we like what you're doing with the community. Do you want to be a part of it?" And history was there.
There was the previous clan that we did, and that actually started off with Jitters doing COD, and GPAV has always been the division guy. And then
I don't know that.
kind of turned around and we came here, and it was like, we're sticking with this one. We can't, if we're going to keep building communities, we're going to have to start charging people.
Well, we all had not goals, it was conditions for starting this clan. We all had our own conditions, like, all right, if we're doing this, I don't want this to happen, this blah blah blah. And then we all came to agreement. We're all like, yep, totally makes sense, let's make sure this happens the way it does. And I think that's what's different about this clan compared to the rest, is we all are on the same mindset. Nothing is like, you obviously learn through communities, right, of what worked, what didn't work. And I think that's why we have our strong opinions on certain topics, and it's for the better because of experience, obviously, right?
Yeah.
And in the end, we want what's best for the community. We want everybody to, your internet connection is unstable. That's cool. My wife is streaming Among Us right now. That's why. And I'm not wired. But yeah, we want the best for the community, and obviously input and everybody's opinions obviously matter in the end.
All right. For this next question, I would just like to keep in mind that we have to keep things fairly conservative, okay? Mr. Chevy asked, where do babies come from?
Dorks. Just leave it at that. Next question.
Yeah, that was a terrible question, Chevy.
I couldn't not add that. Sky, this one's gonna be directed towards you because you're the Destiny player out of the group. What attracted you to Destiny?
FPS. So Destiny is my first FPS ever in my entire life. I thought the steep learning curve of it all when you first start out, because I play RPGs a lot. I grew up playing RPGs, tactical games where you don't need to aim a cursor at something with precision, right? I thought there was a very steep learning curve in learning how to get good at FPS shooters. But Destiny, I think the more you play it, the more you appreciate, especially when you go play other games, you appreciate kind of the gunplay how each gun feels, how it shoots, how it gets pulled out even. It's very detailed. And the freedom of mobility as well. Like you could glide and teleport short spaces. It moves very fast. So with that steep learning curve also came with, that level of satisfaction when you master it, right? When you can chain certain types of movements and be able to pull off some amazing moves with all of your abilities and your guns, that there's no other feeling really. I also really like how if you kill an enemy with a precision shot, there's that satisfaction of that pop, right? And when you kill an enemy with a certain element, that they also kind of disintegrate into space within that element, right? And these kind of little detailed special effects within the gameplay of Destiny is what really made it unique to me than any other FPS games or other video games for that matter. It's just that attention to detail that all kind of adds up to that experience and satisfaction it gives when you can become really good at all the different facets of the game.
That's interesting.
Yeah, like I'll put it a disclaimer though. Like I haven't really flew out of the nest like all that much besides Destiny. Like I've tried playing Apex, Overwatch. I couldn't get into it.
Battlefield.
I played COD as well. I gave that a go because I got so confident, being able to like get good at Destiny that, I can translate this to other FPS
Very
games.
different.
No, very different.
Yeah.
Like, just that aim assistance in Destiny is just like,
A crutch. Yeah.
Yeah, it is a crush for sure. It is a crush for sure. But I like that ease into, I think, like I said, the steep learning curve, getting into it, it actually helped me feel powerful. And that's why you play games, right? Like you want to feel good about playing.
You don't want to, play
those endorphins that are released.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Destiny's one of a kind as well.
Yeah. I think that's what keeps me coming back to Destiny. Like Dash mentioned, like, it's the same strikes over and over and whatnot. And I have complaints about that too, like recycled content, not refreshing with anything new. Most of the time, the same pinnacle grind. But at the core of it all, there's that gameplay that I think, for me, it just can't be replicated. It's very unique to Destiny. And that's why I've been able to always come back if I take long breaks, if not, keep going at it, and making it feel fresh every time, because there's always new guns to try, new perks to try. I've recently got into PvP, and I've had this discussion with Mills one day in Destiny when I think somebody was talking about like how they're getting very burnt out with Destiny, right? With the repetitiveness. And I felt that like, getting into the PvP side of Destiny, it's been really new and fun for me, as well as extremely challenging and tough. But that's the only element in the game in Destiny where like it's dynamic, right? Like it's not the same raid, the same mechanics, the same enemy type, like moving in the same patterns, like in PvP, like you don't know what's going to happen next because it's against another organic player who makes their own decisions based off of what they see on the radar or in their environment. So it's just the kind of that aspect of Destiny has kind of reinvigorated kind of a lot of what I kind of focus on once all the PvE activity is like done and over. Like, because at that point, if it was the old me, I would have just move on to another game and come back when there's new PvE content. But there's that PvP element that keeps it interesting during that content time.
I know a lot of us, no matter what game we play, like to complain that, oh, it's the same thing over and over again, and they don't add in anything new, and they're doing a bad job. And I look at it like this: you show me one game out there where it's not you doing the same thing over and over again,
Mm-hmm.
then
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting it.
That's all essentially video games are. It's a gameplay loop, right? And good games know how to mask that loop with progression, right? With mechanics, with different, with design, essentially. But essentially, all games are loops in and of itself.
GTA has done a good job in avoiding that, I feel.
Right.
How so?
All the updates they've had ever since 2013, when GTA Online was first introduced in October 2013, all the updates till this point in time have been free. So you've bought a game for $60 and then you pay zero for any update that comes with it. And over the years, they have developed different systems. They revamped gameplay mechanics, let's say. They've introduced new ways to grind, and it's basically, the game is about money. You do missions, you get money. When the game first came out, you would have to do one mission over and over again. It would give you 20,000, and after you do it enough times, you would be able to afford a car that costs $1 million. And then fast forward a few years, they started to introduce a VIP and CEO system that would give you an advantage. And then they took this system and then they started branching out. Oh, you could own businesses now that give you money. And then came heists. Then came the casino a year ago, and now I forgot. But they keep updating constantly. It is a loop in a sense that it's the same, but up until now it is the same. But over the past few years, and this is a game that is now ported over for 3 generations of consoles. It came out for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360, and then it got ported to PS4, Xbox One, and now it's being ported to PS5, Xbox S.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
So a game that has lived that long and was able to survive and live and maintain the momentum, they've done a good job at that, in my opinion. And the systems they integrated were very fresh, refreshing, and unique for their time, for their purpose, for their game. And if you look back at GTA 4 that came out in 2008, granted it was 2008 and technology wasn't as advanced, the online game mode was very, I'm not going to say linear, it was very basic. You would have a map, you would just walk around. There was no mini map, there was no party system to invite friends to. And them taking that whole purpose and expanding on it, or that whole idea and expanding on it years coming forward, is very pioneering.
Yeah.
Yeah, now that you bring that up, I don't think I've ever really played a game like Grand Theft Auto, that does what Grand Theft Auto did as well as they did. They've made an evolving game. I remember when you go online and the only way to make money is create a biker gang and go run coke or something like that. And like you said, now you can be an executive and stuff like that, and multi-million-dollar corporations and towers and all that.
Any other questions in the bank?
Yep, there is the controversial question that Dash orders were not allowed to skip. If you could kick one person from the clan, who and why?
This is coming.
Well,
I'll start off. Mono Pequeno. I would kick Mono Pequeno, and because the only person that's more fun to kick than Montepicano is Super. And I feel at this point it's just redundant to keep kicking Super. So I'd have to kick Montepicano.
I got nobody. So you guys are up.
Right? I exercise my right to plead the Fifth Amendment.
I would kick Shadow Slice.
Shadow. All right.
Shadow. Him and I have a long, love-hate relationship. So I think just for fun to see how he reacts, it would be really fun to kick him out and see what he says, what types of racial slurs he throws at me. I think that would be a lot of fun just to see his reaction, But him and I have long joked around and hated on each other out of love, right? For a long time. So he's someone I would kick out just to see how he reacts.
I got a couple quick. I have a couple quick ones. Try not to go into too much detail because they are not personal, but they're like thinkers. Would you rather have a rewind button or a pause button in your life? 30 words or less.
Hold on. Explain this pause button.
Okay, so you either want to relive
back in time
past
or
pause your current life and enjoy it, like reminisce over it.
I would choose rewind. I think rewind is a much more powerful thing than pause. Because I think you could rewind and for a short period and make sure that you don't make that certain mistake or decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or rewind. I think you can do a lot more with rewinding. I mean, pause. I would think I could pause right now and just be able to take in this piece, right? But you could rewind a peaceful moment and over and over again to live that. I think it's much more powerful ability to have.
Lion, what do you think?
I would rewind because history is in the past, it's not in the future. And if it was choosing between the past or the future, it would have been a different argument. But it's either pause or live in the past. So I would live in the past because history is in the past.
What about you, Jitters?
It's one of those questions I always think about. I don't know if anybody watches the US version of The Office, but there was a quote that he literally said, I wish you knew you were in the good old days when you were in the good old days. All right.
Yeah.
So when you look in the past, you think of, oh man, that was some good times, or when you're younger in high school or whatever it is, and you think, man, those were the good old days. Maybe we're living the good old days right now and you don't know, right? So that question for me has always been an unanswered one, because I can look back and be like, oh, those were some good times, but right now I could be looking back 10 years from now and be like, damn, right now I'm living the good old days too, right? So I'm always curious what other people think.
I'm pausing. I've got kids. I don't want to rewind past that.
Yeah.
I mean, we could think of it like last year. Everyone was saying, oh, 2019 is a bad year before the whole pandemic started. But I was saying, oh, 2019 is such a bad year. And then we count down for the new year and we're in lockdown. And nobody ever had the realization or even the ability to fathom that such a thing would envelop our lives. That 2019 was, when we think of it now, it was the good times on a very short spectrum. We could think. So yeah, for you guys you've been older, I can talk about the high school graduation goggles, as they would say, because I've only experienced that 2 years ago. I've only graduated, so I can understand that. Oh yeah, as different and demanding as high school was for me, now that I think of it, jumping into university life, it just the stress and the responsibilities that just clam onto each other as one goes into adulthood is just very, very exhausting at times, and you sort of have no realization of that when you're in high school. No, these are the good times. No, I'm gonna live my days in high school, and then whoop, you hit 18. You're in and out of liquor stores. Legal drinking age here is 18. Disclaimer. Yeah, and in and out of liquor stores, and you're living your life miserably.
All right, last one, so we can wrap it up. DC or Marvel?
DC. DC.
Now I'll start it off because it might help a little bit. DC movies, Marvel comics.
DC movies.
I have no opinion on that. I'm not really into that whole conversation or that genre. I'm not really into it. I've watched a lot of Marvel movies, so I'm partial to it. I just didn't grow up with comics, so I'll probably have a biased answer.
Well, I didn't grow up with comics either, but I'm just gonna say 3 words: Christopher Nolan trilogy. And that's how you
True. I really enjoy those movies for sure. Yeah.
I'm gonna get crucified here. I don't know the difference.
All right, it was the wrong question to ask this group. I get it.
No, I was that at one point. I didn't know the difference between Marvel and DC.
Me too. I still don't know.
I went out this one time to watch Endgame when it first came out in 2019. And I had no clue because I didn't keep up with the Marvel universe, whether comics or movies, and I had the person there explain everything to me, and then I look back on my childhood and I think, well, before that people were always saying, oh, Marvel or DC, and I didn't know the difference. But then I think to myself, I used to love Batman, and specifically Lego Batman and the Joker and Harley Quinn, and wait, that's DC. No, fuck Marvel. I'm a DC guy. And then here I am, and I watched the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and I'm sold on DC. So that's me.
Goes back and forth.
Perfect.
Depending on the last one you watched that you enjoyed.
Well, we'll have to pick up next time. I know a lot of us we're hitting 2 hours, which is exceeded way more than we thought we would. But which is good. It was more of a conversation than more of a structure, which was nice. So again, we're still working through the kinks, and I like that. So I think, I think right now it's a good time to wrap it up. Any concluding thoughts before we quick wrapping thoughts?
I haven't answered the question, Jitters.
What's the answer? What's the question?
DC,
Do you want to answer it?
DC or Marvel?
Well, I would say I've enjoyed the DC. I think Zack Snyder has the best
he's gonna
movies
lose
for superheroes, and that's DC. So I'm gonna have to go with DC. But I think Marvel's done a fantastic job in building the cinematic universe. But I like the comics. The comics, nothing beats that. So I'm gonna say DC just to end that one.
All right.
But great podcast. It's nice having more guests. It's definitely has a nice flow to it. So hopefully we can get some more guests. We can have some more content to talk about. I think obviously Destiny and Division are expanding slowly, and I think it will have, especially with Outriders too. So yeah. All I know is I gotta really go to the bathroom, so I have no words to say anymore. I know Ballpeen has to cook and his kids are getting antsy, so good job, guys. We'll reconvene another time.
Yes,
Sounds good.
Thank
you.
See you guys later.
Take care, XTRO.